Scandal,
Murder,
lore,
intrigue,
I'm Ravinia,
and I'm Lindsay.
and we're talking about the people and relationships.
That made for some scandalicious headlines across the country.
So come join the class.
We're here to give you the rundown. Today, I'm running this episode and I'm really excited. It's the first one I'm running, so no judgment. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Murdaugh murders. There's been a murder. I just love how it sounds like someone in a Southern accent saying the word murder.
Murder,
Murdaugh.
right?
Like that's literally how their name is spelled, but it's pronounced Murdoch. And I have a theory about that. I think how, like different groups of people, they'll come up with like slang or like kind of like say words a little differently, like just when you talk faster. And I really believe over time that they went from Murdaugh to Murdoch, the same as his name, like Alex to Alec. They're just like, because they're just saying it so fast in their Southern accent, or not really fast because they talk really slow.
Right.
Watching the court case, I had to speed it up because it was like so slow. But we are going to talk about the Murdaugh cases because there's a bunch. There's financial crimes. There are 5 people dead, unfortunately. And yeah, so should we start off with me asking you like how much you know or what?
Yeah.
Because I know you do know a lot. So
I wouldn't say I know a lot, but first and foremost, I was introduced to this trial from you. You're like, dude, there's this family, they run the city and there's people dead. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, I love that kind of, well, I don't love it for real life, but the whole like, generational wealth and going back and stuff, that stuff always kind of intrigued me. And then I tried listening to that podcast that you had suggested where they were like covering it more in depth. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, but I did watch the Netflix special. I thought it was good, but I definitely thought it was like really, really sad, really tragic.
Yeah.
Like, who the hell are these people? Where did they come from?
I know, it's crazy. So, it's the podcast. It's the Murdaugh Murders podcast or Murdaugh Murders with Mandy Matney. And it's amazing if you want to go super, super in depth. I tried to just cover like the general things, but talk about all of the different murders and how they are involved and how Alec is like the head of like at the head of all of these murders, basically, or most of them.
That was one thing I was going to tell you. So one thing that kind of drove me up the wall a little bit was like how everybody has like 10 different names. So like Alec, his name is actually Alex, right?
Yeah.
And then there's, what is his name? The youngest one.
Youngest is Paul, and we'll go over that. And then the other one's
Papa. And then this one, they also call him something else.
He goes by Buster because Buster. So the family has been in power for over 100 years in Hampton, South Carolina. And they've worked at this courthouse. It's if you can go on YouTube and watch the video version of this and you'll see like all the pictures of everybody and everything. And yeah, Buster is a nickname that the like great grandfather had. So they kind of like, they pass down the names and then, so let's dive into it. I tried to simplify everything. Okay. So like I said before, the Murdaughs have been in power for over 100 years in Hampton, South Carolina. This is an extremely poor town. Like I heard over and over, it's poor, it's poor, it's poor. And I thought, okay, yeah, like they don't have many jobs and people don't have a lot of money. But I was in Low Country because I visit Low Country multiple times a year, and I drove there to see everything. And it was just like rundown trailer after rundown trailer. It was super sad. It's extremely poor. And you can really see the generational wealth gap in the town. Like the Murdaughs were millionaires compared to a lot of these people, and they acted that way. Like they knew they were powerful. They knew they could get away with anything. That both the sons knew that. Like they would talk about it like to friends and other people. It'd be like, my last name's Murdaugh. Like I'm never gonna get in trouble for anything. So if you were a Murdaugh, you could get away with anything because your family is basically the law. They there were 3 generations, starting with the oldest Murdaugh in 1920 was a county solicitor, and then his son, and then his son was a county solicitor. So this is the same thing as like an attorney general. They call them like county solicitors.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is a county solicitor?
I know. I think of like when people come knock on your door and they're like soliciting and you're like, get off my lawn.
Trying to sell you something. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alec would have been the next person in line to be the solicitor, but I don't know, somehow he wasn't. He was like a volunteer solicitor or something, like a junior solicitor, but they still they worked in their law firm, like right next door to the courthouse, and they prosecuted people. So the family law firm specialized in personal litigation, injury litigation. So they had like millions of dollars coming in from people, like you got into a car accident and you sued the driver, whatever. And a lot of times, you can sue people for millions of dollars, especially companies. And so Alec and his law firm were the ones to do that. So they had the money coming in, and it's up to the lawyers to like disperse it to their clients. And so a lot of times they don't, and they steal it, either all of it or some of it. And it's all this like legal jargon that the average person has no idea what they're talking about. So it's easy to kind of like slip it under their like feet, and they have no idea. This is what happened with the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, like Erica Jane and her husband. He did the same thing, like stole millions of dollars from people.
Oh my God.
So Alec did that, and he ended up stealing over $7 million from people and the law firm. Okay, so
not even the clients, also his own damn law firm, they weren't safe from him.
Exactly. So this is a picture of him. Like, he has lost a bunch of weight by the time that he gets arrested, and the later pictures will show, but this is what he normally looks like. And this is him walking out of the courtroom, I think at his son Paul's hearing, but just to kind of show you, like, this was him in uniform. This is him like being a lawyer. So
reminds me, but like with Harvey Weinstein, remember when he like first started going to court, and then like the photos of him while he was doing it, he was like skinny and he had like a walker and stuff. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on from the financial stuff. Like, that's all we need to know about the financial stuff. He stole $7 million. He was a crook. He lied to people. Like, yes. So now we're going to move on to all the people that have like basically are laying dead, like in his wake. So there's 5 total people in this story. So we have in the upper left-hand corner is Mallory Beach. On the right is Stephen Smith. On the bottom left is Paul and Maggie, Alec's son and wife. And then on the bottom right is Gloria Satterfield. So we're gonna go through all of these. So first, the family. So we have Alec on the right, and then Paul, who's the youngest son, then his wife Maggie, and then Buster, who's the oldest, just so you know what son is which, because one of them is now deceased. Okay, so it all starts in 2015. So this is Buster on the right, and this is Stephen Smith on the left. They went to school together. In 2015, Stephen was found dead in the middle of a road, 2-lane road, deceased, like in the middle of it. And at first the police thought that, this must be a hit and run. Well, he has loosely tied shoes on his feet. And when you 99% of the time when you're someone hits you with a car, your shoes fly off, your shoes are off. And his were tied super loosely. So they were like, there's no way that this is a hit and run. I drove down this road as well, and it is like 55 miles an hour too. So he would have been flown, and I doubt that he would have ended up like in the middle of the road anyways. His sister said in an interview that they used to walk those roads all the time to get to their parents' house. When a car came, they would just hop in the woods. There was so much room on the side too. Like, he would not be dumb enough to walk like right in the middle, or even on the very side of the road. There was plenty of room. So 3 miles away, his car was found with an empty tank of gas. So it appears that he was walking home because he ran out of gas. So first the police tried to say it was a hit and run. But then Highway Patrol, when they investigated it, they were like, this is not a hit and run. His shoes are on. This does not scream hit and run. He died from blunt force trauma to the right side of his head. And the Highway Patrol believes that somebody like struck him, maybe was driving down the road and struck him with like a bat or like a golf club or something. Cause it's like blunt force trauma to like one side. Some people say, he could have gotten hit with like a car mirror or something, but the people that investigate the like highway accidents and road accidents and things like that. They're like, this definitely is not a hit and run. So talk around the small town was that Buster had something to do with it.
Mhm.
And these are just rumors, but that him and Buster had some sort of a intimate relationship. And now in the South, like Stephen was openly gay and he was proud of it. And he was not ashamed and he was not shy, but there's a lot of people that are, especially in the South, they're not going to
Right.
accept you as easily as a lot of other places. It's not a
It's
liberal
like a
area.
lot
It's
of
a very,
prejudice. Yeah.
yeah, very conservative and very religious. So it's like that theory could make sense that maybe they were having some sort of relationship and Stephen was going to out him or tell people or who, and the Murdaugh family can easily come around and take care of the
And you.
situation.
Yeah.
um, so Stephen's father sadly died 3 months after Stephen died. So
Oh
his
my
mom and his
God.
sister lost him and the dad, but his dad died saying that the Murdaugh boys killed my son. Um, the police investigated this and like they interviewed a few people and then they just stopped. Then the case was closed. They tried to say it was a hit and run and that was it. So there will be more that pops up on this case, but we're going to move on to the next one because that's basically like what happened by 2016. I think they were done. They
Okay.
were over this case. And they're like, okay, well, we're not sure. Do. And the family's like, we need answers. Okay, so fast forward to 2018. So this is Gloria Satterfield. She was the
Mhm.
Murdaugh's longtime housekeeper, and she basically raised the boys, especially Paul. It was said that Maggie, the mother, had a bad postpartum depression, especially after she had Paul. And so Gloria was there to be like a mother figure to Paul. Um,
Right.
so she one day in 2018 fell down the stairs at their home while, on the job. Apparently their dogs tripped her and she hit her head. So she ends up dying in the hospital a short time after. And nobody even came to visit her. The boys didn't come to visit her. I think either Alec came to visit her or Maggie. It was only one of them. But I just found that strange that especially Paul treated her, I'm sure most times, like a mother figure and like didn't even
Right.
come to visit her. So Alec, once she passes away, Alec goes to her sons and says, "Hey, I'll get you a lawyer. I'll set you up with my buddy and we can sue my homeowner's insurance and you guys can get money from it." And so of
Right.
course the boys are like, "Okay, like, we'd love our mother back, but like money would be the next
They need
like."
support.
Yeah, exactly. So um Alex ends up doing this and successfully sues his homeowner insurance, but then he steals all the money. $4 million he steals from those boys. And they didn't, I'm pretty sure they didn't even know that that was how much it was until the trial for the murder of Maggie and Paul happened. And then they realized.
So did
Um,
they get any money, like her family? Did they
yeah,
get any?
as of now, they have not. So
Oh my
now
God.
the case is reopened. They are trying to exhume her
Mm,
again because they don't
it's
know. Apparently, she fell down at the steps of their home, but the report says that she was at a different one of their homes. And it was actually their home called Moselle. And they're like, why would, like it seems like somebody's lying, somebody's trying to cover something up.
Wait, so they have multiple homes.
Yes. Yeah. And so the main home where like
Oh,
the two murders have taken place and where Gloria fell was at their home called Moselle, which we'll get into later. But in the police report, it said she
okay.
was at a different one of their homes. So just kind of weird. So they're thinking, like, was she onto something? Did she see something? Was she going to tell somebody something about the
Yeah.
family? Did they take care of
Hmm.
her? Or it could be as simple as it was an accident and she died, but Alex still stole all of that money and the boys
Right.
received nothing.
And it looks
Um,
suspicious. Yeah. It's like
exactly.
you get all this money and you keep it. It's like, okay.
Exactly. Especially, these boys are suffering because their mom died and then they just get played like this. So now that case is reopened and hopefully they will get some money. But at the time, Alec, just making excuses when they ask questions. Oh, we'll deal with it. Well, I'll get you your money, everything. So he steals every bit. So we're going to move
Ugh.
on to the next year. So another big thing happens. So in 2019, the youngest son, Paul, was driving his friends home from a party in the middle of February. at night
Oof.
via boat. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but you don't drive a boat at night. You don't like it's even so dangerous to drive a boat at night. There are not road lights. Like you
Right.
have, there
It's
are
like
not
pitch
street lights.
dark.
Yeah, it is so terrifying and unsafe to just simply drive a boat, even if you're going slow. So they were all partying. So these are all the couples, boy in the middle and the boy on the left. They are cousins, and their girlfriends are with them. And then on the right, it's Paul and his longtime girlfriend. So it was like three couples. They went out to party and they were going home via boat. So Paul was extremely drunk, drank a ton of alcohol before at the party. Then him and Corey on the left got shots at the bar. Paul is underage. He's only 19, I think. And he's using Buster's ID.
Oh yeah, his
So
older brother.
yes. And the Maggie and Alec Murdaugh let their kids drink underage. Like it was well known and very accepted. So this was like nothing for him. So
Oof.
they're going home, and Paul, when he gets really wasted, they call him Timmy. They're like, Timmy's coming out because he's belligerent. He's angry. You can't tell him what to like. One of those, we all know one person who is so annoying drunk, and they're mean and they're nasty. Like that's exactly
I
you're
have
thinking
one
about.
person. I was gonna say I have one person in
You're just
mind.
sitting here, you're like, yeah, that is how he was. And so much so that, the other people in the group, they didn't even want to deal with him. Like, you feel like you can't get anything through to him. So he's driving the boat and he's driving in circles, and they are all like, dude, you need to stop. Like, let Corey drive the boat. And so he takes the boat for a little bit, and then Paul gets super mad. His girlfriend's yelling at him. She's sitting in the front of the boat, and he walks up to her and he slaps her across the face and spits at her. Like, just shows you how much respect he has for women. And
I
then
mean, if he was willing to do that in front of people, I'm
Mhm.
scared to know what he did to her behind closed doors.
Exactly.
That's frightening.
Exactly. Yeah, so he grabs the steering wheel and he full throttles the boat and speeds up this creek called Archer's Creek. Now there's just one bridge that goes over it, and it's kind of a low bridge with huge cement pilings.
Mhm.
And they smash right into it. So the couple in the middle, Mallory, and her boyfriend, they were both sitting in the back of the boat. So that if this is like the pillar, and
Uh-huh.
they hit it, and so the boat went like this, so the back of the boat lifted up, and that's where Mallory and her boyfriend were. So they flipped into the water, as well as the two girls in the front, Corey's girlfriend and Paul's girlfriend. So the four of them are in the water, and one person doesn't resurface, and that's Mallory.
Mm.
She died of blunt force trauma. She must have hit her head on either the piling or the boat. Like, who knows? You're flying in the air, hitting the water in the dark. They all get up to shore and they're like, where the fuck is Mallory? Like, it's in,
Right.
I'm not going to play the clip of the like 911 call and all of that because it's really sad. And they're just literally screaming, like, you can't see anything. So I also went to this location as well. And I mean, the current is really fast too. So the second that like they were all swimming against the current, and like she just had no chance if she hit her head and then subsequently drowned from that. So Paul is super drunk. He's laughing once the
God.
cops come. Like, Mallory's boyfriend is like, my girlfriend's gone, bro. And he's just like laughing. And he even, Mallory's boyfriend even tells the police, he's like, that boy's a Murdaugh. Like, good luck. Good luck trying to, he knew right away that he
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
he's not going to get in any trouble. So in the hospital, he had to be strapped down because he was so belligerent. This is a picture of him wasted as fuck.
Oh my
And his
God.
father, Alex, you can see in the bottom, sorry, there's super, super grainy pictures. Alex comes to the rescue. He starts going from room to room, telling the other people who are on the boat, don't say who's driving, because he knows that his son was driving and this girl is dead and his son is going to get in trouble. And all he wants is for his son, not to get in trouble. They have to do
Right.
whatever they can. So he's telling them all to say, I don't know. When the police ask who's driving the boat, he told them to all say, I don't know. And they were like listening at first to him, and they did what he said. But then
Mhm.
later on, they realized, they're like, oh my God, like he's just being a sneak. He's calling up his father, who's the county solicitor at this time, being like, okay, how do we get these people
Right.
out of trouble? Instead of worrying about the girl who just died and
Yeah.
finding her body and like all this stuff. Like, He does not care. Her body was found a week later. And by April, Paul was charged with 3 felonies, including 1 count of boating under the influence causing death and 2 counts of boating under the influence causing bodily injury. So Mallory's family lawyer filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Murdaugh family because Paul used Buster's ID to buy alcohol that night, and their parents knowingly allowed the sons to drink. So they filed that lawsuit against the Murdaugh family, besides the charges, like on top of the charges that Paul has. So Paul, you can see here, he's sitting in court. He was let out on a $50,000 bond, and he was never put in handcuffs or placed in a jail uniform for his former mugshot. Like, even if you get bond, you at least like have to be cuffed, and you get like that mugshot,
right,
like with
the uniform.
yeah. And so
he
the
looks like he's wearing like his Sunday best or something. Like
so that
Easter Sunday.
yeah, so this is his mugshot. It was taken in the back hallway, and he's in normal clothes. And I just know, like, his father Alec was like, "Oh my God, I cannot have my son be a criminal and in a mugshot." It's like, yeah, but you perpetuated this, this activity of his, and this, like, who he is. You are the cause of that. So yeah, so you can just tell, like, right here how privileged he is. It's like, oh, honey, I'm sorry, you just got to go sit in court for a little bit. Like, we're not gonna put cuffs on you. It's okay. Like, totally beating him.
He was so used to like getting his way, or getting, his dad taking care of everything for him. And like, the other thing I remember about this like particular part of the story was that the police like didn't notify Mallory's parents, right?
Yes.
That she was missing and they were looking for her. I don't know I guess they didn't give him a breathalyzer, which I guess they didn't need to at that point, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seemed like the police have never done, the correct due diligence when it comes to this family. And
exactly.
Yeah,
they did not give him a breathalyzer on the scene. They ended up doing it in the hospital only because like he was so wasted. So someone was like, we need to take his alcohol level. So they were like, we need to give him a breathalyzer. So yeah, I mean, if this was a person of color, they would be thrown in jail immediately.
For sure.
This is the definition of white privilege here, people. If you are confused to what that means, like, this family is the definition. So
Yes.
in June 2021, Paul is still waiting for his trial when he is gunned down with his mother Maggie at their home. They're both pronounced dead at the scene, and Alec is the one who finds them. And he immediately gives a possible reason for the homicide. The reason is that Paul was in a boat crash. So I'm going to play the video, and you can see how quickly he is like giving the police a reason why they died. And people are like, yeah, like, you could think that, but it's like, when you first find your son and wife murdered, like, you shouldn't even be able to like think about possible motives.
Right.
You're in shock and everything. And he immediately is like giving a reason, like trying to plan.
Yes.
So let's watch that video.
Central 717 scene is secure. Got a Whiskey Fox, Whiskey Mike.
So the blurred images are their bodies.
I wanted to let you know, because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it down here.
It's in your vehicle? Do you have any guns on you at all?
No, sir. It's leaning up against the side of my car.
Okay. You're fine, man. You're fine. Turn around for me.
I don't.
So he had brought a gun because he said that he was scared. So he saw them dead, and then he rushed home and got a gun. But the other thing about this is that he, like, you could see his shirt is clean. Like, if he actually shot them, there'd be gun residue, all that stuff. So if he went home and got a gun, he could have gone home, showered, gotten blood off of him, gotten every gun residue off of him. And there is a Snapchat video from Paul earlier in that day, and Alec is wearing a different shirt. So people think that, he went back to get a gun, but he had this planned out that he's like, okay, I'm going to go home, I'm going to shower, I'm going to change my shirt, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to come back and act like I found them. So he's telling the
Okay.
officer, like, oh, I have a gun because I'm scared. But it's like, if you were scared for your life, he wouldn't have waited 40 minutes to call Buster to tell him what happened. He waited 40 minutes. He called so many other people. If you were worried about somebody is after your family, don't you think you'd call your other son and be like, where
Right.
are you? Get safe. No, he waited 40 minutes. He wasn't worried about Buster.
Was Buster living in the house too, or had he moved out? Or
No, so he was in college at the University of
okay.
South Carolina. So he lives in Hilton Head now. And
Okay.
he actually just got kicked out because he was cheating. So
Oh
it's
God.
like there's not an innocent person in this whole family. Okay, so we'll play the rest. Okay.
It's bad.
So he's saying it's bad.
This is the firearm you brought from inside the house?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I went and got. This is a long story. My son was in a boat wreck a few months back. He's been getting threats. Most of it's been benign stuff we didn't take serious.
Okay.
You know, he's been getting like punched. I know that's somebody. I know that's what it is.
Okay. When did you get home? Right when you.
Okay, so he said that Paul had been getting like threats or whatever
Mm-hmm.
because of the boat thing.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched the Netflix special, it looked like Paul went back to partying. Like I
He did.
saw, and I was gonna say, was there? I mean, is there any proof? Has it like, did they have any, text message or video or anything that Paul was getting like,
Yeah. So no, they don't. There is no evidence that he was
got
getting threats,
harassed?
that he got punched, nothing. There's
Mhm.
no threat. So that's what the defense tried to say. Of course they're going to be like, okay, if Alec didn't do it, then it was somebody mad about the boat wreck and everything. And all the other people who were in the boat wreck, were interviewed and everything. Their alibis checked out, and there was no evidence. Like, he was smeared in papers, and people,
Mhm.
just looked at him like, wow, you were such a little privileged brat. But yeah, he went back to partying. He went back to drinking, and he was able to go to college. He had the time of his life up until he died. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I could see how people in the community would be upset and annoyed or like, with Paul, but I
Mhm.
feel like nobody would have actually gone as far as like harass him and punch him, because it's like I felt like nobody felt like they could go against his family. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like
If they had done that, if he had gotten like punched or something, you best believe he would have called his dad and gotten whoever in trouble. Yeah. And then it's like, why would someone murder his mother too? And his mother wasn't involved, nothing
yeah,
like
that
that.
was the other thing. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it, but yeah, I have so many questions.
Yeah, so you could tell he's already kind of giving an alibi. So they were killed at their home. It's called Moselle. So it's this huge property. There's room for hunting and dog kennels. And so Paul and Maggie were found at the dog kennels. And Alex told investigators that he was never there. He said, I was at home with them. We ate dinner, and then I left to go visit my mom, who's suffering from Alzheimer's. So he's like, I
Okay.
left and I'm going to visit her at like 8 o'clock at night. And so the investigators, like, they start investigating as they
Yeah.
do. And so they end up finding evidence relating to the Stephen Smith case. When investigating these murders of Paul and Maggie, they found evidence relating to Stephen Smith. They have not told us what. We do
I
not
was
know.
gonna say I did not know about that.
Yes. So Stephen's case is reopened now because of this. And
What
yeah,
year
like
was it that Stephen died? Do you remember?
2015. And then Paul
Oh,
and Maggie.
good.
Yeah,
So it's
Paul and
been a
Maggie
long
died
time.
2021. Yeah, it's been a really long time that his family has been fighting. And yeah.
I don't know why I
So
thought his death was a little bit more recent, but that's been so long.
yeah, 2015 to like, 2021 when Paul and Maggie died. So yeah, so I wanted to mention that because that yeah, it's just something crazy and unexpected but amazing at the same time, that they're able to find some evidence, and like, eventually hopefully that justice can be served in some capacity.
So then if that guy, what's his name again? This one, the one on the right,
Buster.
Buster. Oh my God, all their names, I
I
cannot.
know.
So if Buster, I mean, like you said, we don't know yet what the evidence was that kind of leads to the Stephen case.
Mhm.
But in theory, if he gets convicted for this, then that means both of the men are behind bars.
I
And
know.
then the sibling and the mother are dead. I mean,
I know. It's insane. Okay, so
they say like absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I'm like, this
wow, never
family.
heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's insane. So, we'll get back to the murders of the dog kennel as we go into the trial. So, for now, they're investigating the murders. Alec is still presumed innocent. He's not like he's a suspect, but he hasn't been arrested or anything like that. So he's going about his life. They, of course, as happens a lot where you're pretty sure someone has murdered someone else when they like
Yeah.
they aren't looking for the murderer. They're just like defending themselves, but they're not out looking for the murderer. So Alec was never looking for the murderer. Him and Buster put out a monetary reward, but like gave it a deadline, didn't keep it up forever. And Alec was on the phone with Maggie's sister and he said, I just want to clear Paul's name. That's the most important thing. And Maggie's sister's thinking, I want to figure out who murdered my sister and my nephew. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Mhm.
You want to clear Paul's name? Like, aren't you concerned about who could have shot them? I mean, Maggie was shot, I think like 5 to 10 times. The back of Paul's head was like completely blown off. Like this was so brutal. It's like, you aren't trying to figure out who did it. Probably maybe because you did it.
Oh my God.
Anyways, so,
Ugh, I don't know how he can live with himself if he did do it. It's like,
I know. But people say they're like, I cannot understand how you could do this. And it's like, it's good if you can't understand because
yeah.
you can't understand it. He's a psychopath. Like you should be happy that you can't understand. You can't even fathom because it means there's nothing wrong with you. Like something is really
Yeah.
wrong with you. If you're like, yeah, I can see it.
And didn't Alec have like an addiction problem?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll get
Okay.
into that because
Okay.
we're not sure. He says that he had an opioid addiction. So, but we'll get into that. So
Okay.
by September, so they were murdered in June 2021. So by September, Alex's law firm forces him to resign. They've caught him stealing millions of dollars from the clients in the firm. And so they're like,
Mhm.
we're kicking you out. So the very next day after that, so they kick him out September 3rd. I remember this because that's my birthday. So September 3rd, they're like, you cannot work here anymore. Like, you're going to get disbarred. You have screwed us over in clients. Like, yeah. So the next day, September 4th, Alex calls up his drug dealer who he buys the opioid pills from and pays him to assist in his suicide. He says, I want you to shoot me in the head. I'm going to stop on the side of the road to change my tire. And I want you to shoot me on the side of the head, allegedly, because this is unproven, but he wanted Buster to get like a $10 million life insurance policy. What's weird is that there wasn't a life insurance policy on Maggie. You would think that usually when someone's murdered by a spouse, there's a life insurance policy, but there
Right.
only was one on Alec and it was for $10 million. So I think that's what Alex said, or it's definitely not set in stone. We're not sure if that's like the truth, but we think,
Right.
it was like, I'll just end my life. Like everything's falling apart, blah, blah, blah. So he pulls on the side of the road and his drug dealer named Eddie comes and shoots him, but Alec doesn't die. He like is blinded for a second and then like he's completely fine. It's like, I don't understand.
So he did get shot in the head, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I mean, I guess, was it a graze or something? Or
I don't know exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who get shot or shoot themselves and it doesn't
right.
kill them. So Alec calls the police and is like, someone shot me in the head. And so there's like a whole new lie that he's going on. So he acts like, oh my God, someone shot me. And I think to like play the victim even more. I think the prosecutor had said like he wants to look like the victim, like, he's stealing all this money and then he's like, oh no, my son and my wife are shot if he really did it. And he's like, oh, don't look at the money, like my family has been murdered. And then it's like, oh, someone's after me too, and like just trying to divert from him and all the financial crimes that he's done. Yeah. So after he was shot, he ends up checking into rehab for opioid addiction. And so once he gets out, then he's arrested, but he's not arrested for the murders yet. He's arrested for his financial crimes. So this is like his first mugshot.
Okay. Ew.
And so while he's in jail, he's denied bond. He has to stay in there, and he's slapped with charge after charge after charge for a grand total of 99 financial crime charges.
Oh my God.
And then after that, he's finally charged with the murder of his wife and son. Like, they have enough evidence, and he's already in jail. And they're like, guess what, buddy? You're not getting out. We think you killed your wife and your son. So January of this year is when the trial began. So he pleads not guilty, and the prosecution doesn't have too solid of a motive. They say that Alex was trying to cover up his financial crimes. This is the prosecution, Creighton Waters. He's a really cool dude and a really good guitarist, but he,
oh, nice.
I started following him on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Like, they call him BCE, Big Creighton Energy.
Ah, nice.
But still, like, in the beginning, everyone was like, this motive isn't too solid. Like, they say, like, Alex was trying to cover up his financial crimes by murdering his wife and son, hoping to gain sympathy so no one looked into his finances. Paul was also a liability. He was continuing to be reckless with drinking even after the boat crash, and he was going to cost his father a lot of money in the wrongful like, death suit and everything. And that was money that Alex didn't have.
Right.
Because Alex ends up saying on the stand that he's spending $50,000 a week on opioid pills because he has such an addiction over 10 years. Well, I have researched this and heard from a lot of people, doctors included, that $50,000 worth of opioids, you would die. You would overdose.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of impossible. So there's a lot of theories that it's like maybe he was a part of this drug ring with the guy Eddie, who he called to, shoot him.
Shoot him. Yeah.
Maybe there was something going on, and maybe Alec didn't. This is like a theory, and I believe this a little bit. I'm like, maybe if Alec wasn't the one to pull the trigger, if you believe that he really did love his family and he could never do that, but maybe there was somebody in this drug ring and he owed money to them.
Yeah.
That's why he was stealing so much. And they were like, you're going to have to watch us do this or something like that. I don't know. But I do believe that, he was involved, and, he might just be a psycho and just was able to do that, able to look his son in the eyes and his wife in the eyes and pull a trigger.
So do you think that Alec killed his wife and son?
At the beginning, it was when I was watching him on the stand, and I don't know. I was like, I just don't understand. Like, how could you do this? Why don't you just kill yourself? Why don't you just like, I don't, like I said, like the prosecution's motive was kind of like, it wasn't so solid. And a lot of people were just like, yeah, the evidence points to it, but it's like, why would you do it, dude? So
yeah, even for me, like, I think Alec probably did it, but like you said, it's like, I don't know, what was the intention there? Like, okay, yeah, like it was expensive to get Paul out, or to keep Paul out of potential prison, but it's like, I don't know, he was used to like being scuzzy with money anyways. I'm sure he would have figured out a way. So I'm like, I don't know, it does seem a little thin.
Yeah, at first I was like, I feel like I would believe the like drug ring, somebody
Theory.
else. Yeah, but when you look at all the evidence, and then somebody was talking about, I think probably on the Murdaugh Murders podcast, just about how he always loved to play the victim, and he's a narcissist, and he thinks about himself. And it's like, if you thought about yourself enough, where like you were losing your job and losing money, like, and you thought, hey, if I convince everybody that my wife and son were murdered, like, people are going to feel bad for me, and they're not going to ever think that I did something like this because I play the loving husband, and then we can, I don't know, that makes sense to me now. Like, I could see how he would think, like, people are going to just be so shocked and mortified that they died like this, that they're not going to catch me with this money. And that's at least going to give me some time to like figure out what to do about the money while, I mourn the death. And then I think when he realized that that law enforcement was onto him a little bit, that he's like, oh shit, like, I think I just need to go and just like save my other son. And they said too that Paul resembled Maggie a lot. Buster resembled Alec and the Murdaughs.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, like look at his face and his.
So a lot of people
said that,
Buster, once he went to law school that he got kicked out of. So he hasn't gone back. He got kicked out for cheating. But his girlfriend just passed the bar. Like he wanted to be like the other Murdaughs.
Oh, so Buster had a girlfriend.
Yes, he still has a girlfriend. She passed the bar and they live in Hilton Head, South Carolina together. They're currently like filing all these lawsuits
I
because
thought he
people are
was
stalking
gay.
them. And well, he might be, but not, I mean, not
Oh,
out.
so
of
there's
course.
no
So,
confirmation. I don't know why I thought
No.
like this was something people knew.
no,
that
no,
he was
no.
gay.
No. He has a girlflriend, but you know,
I
who
wonder how
knows?
she
I mean,
feels about all this.
I
Like, is she
know.
staying with him, right? Like they haven't broken
Yes.
up.
Well, I guess I probably could tell you what she probably feels about this because there are jail phone calls between Alec and a bunch of people. And he gets on the phone with Buster's girlfriend and he says, I'm so happy that you passed the bar. I'm so proud of you. And she even says when they're saying goodbye and she's like, oh, I'll give the phone to Buster. She's like, okay, I love you. Like she says, I love you first. And he says, I love you too. So I think she's sticking with him. And I think Buster, the thing is, I think the family that's sticking by his side, they do know that there are some lies. They do kind of suspect that maybe he did this, but it's like, you just don't want to believe it. So you're
Like
just
even
gonna,
Paul's girlfriend, what was her name? I don't remember her name.
I'm not sure.
So it sounded like when I had seen the Netflix doc, like it seemed like they would take her on vacation with them, that she
Mhm.
would be over the house a lot, and that they kind of just treated her like family already. And I
Yeah.
feel like what you're describing with Buster's girlfriend, it sounds like the same thing because she's like,
Mhm.
okay, love you, you know, stuff like that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I've never
Yeah, I
talked like
think
that with my boyfriend's parents or anything.
I know, like even with my in-laws, like we say I love you, like when we hug them goodbye after we see them. Like
Right.
they live in the Low Countries. That's the reason I'm there, and we go see them a couple times a year. And like, so we're like, okay, love you, like at the end, but like on phone calls and stuff. Yeah, I did think it was weird. When I listened to that, and especially because she said it first, but I don't know. I mean, he's in jail. So if they, it's like a
Right.
dire
Yeah.
time to like, I don't know. So
Also,
yeah,
I just realized I'm covering Maggie in this picture. So it looks like
you're with them.
I'm in the picture. Yeah, I'm with them. Oh God, no.
Alex says that he gets on the stand and a lot of people
Oh
say, I compiled
God.
all these pictures.
He looks so skinny there.
I know, yeah, he's lost a
Is
ton
that
of weight.
snot?
Yes. And that's the only thing that left his eyes or nose. The jurors said when they gave interviews, they were like, we never saw a tear. Like he's like amazing and just like fake crying, being like, like this, like,
That's
so Alex says like, it's not true. Like he did not kill his wife and son. He would never do anything to hurt them. And he said he loved his wife, Mags and Paw Paw. So Alex never referred to Paul as Paw Paw. This is the first time anyone hears him say Paw Paw. And even the prosecution, Creighton Waters, is like, can you tell us who Paw Paw is? Like he never called him that in any police interviews, nothing. So it's like his way of being like, Paw Paw, my poor son, I love him.
right.
And calling Maggie Mags. And
well, did he ever call them that in private? Or no, not really.
I think maybe, but it was just, I don't know, it's just so weird. Like all of the police in their interviews and interrogations, like never, when he's crying too, like never says that, never calls them that or anything.
Right.
So
he's looking for that sympathy,
Mhm.
calling them the nicknames and everything.
Yeah, because he is, I think he's one of those people. This is what I've realized the more like I watched the case and listened to the podcasts and things like that, is that he's one of those people who likes to play victim. Oh my God, I never even looked up his zodiac sign. How crazy am I? I'm like, this is giving cancer.
Do that, please.
This is giving cancer energy 1000%. He's a Gemini.
Gemini men. I don't know too much about Gemini men, but I just see on TikTok, they're always like, Gemini men are literally the worst.
Yeah. So bombshell evidence is dropped during the trial by the prosecution. Nobody knew that this video of this dog right here, this sweet little chocolate lab, nobody knew this existed until the trial. So all the people who have been like, reading the affidavits and the search discovery and everything, like nobody knew. So it's like bombshell. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is what convinced the jury to convict him. Like this, everybody said, like, if that didn't exist, because this video puts Alec at the kennel. So again, Alec said, I had dinner with Maggie and Paul, and then I went to visit my mom who was suffering from Alzheimer's. I talked to her housekeeper, saw her, and then I came back. And when I came back home, I tried to call them. They weren't at the house, and I went to the kennels and I found them dead. That is Alec's story. So on Paul's phone that evening, which was on 2% battery, by the way, he was recording a video of him at the kennel. So he's sending a video of this dog, this little chocolate lab is his friend's dog, and he was staying at their dog kennels. So Paul is trying to take a video of the dog's tail. And if you know English labs, I have one. Their tails are so thick. And so there was like a knot in his tail. There's something happened to his tail. So he's trying to take a video to show his friend like the dog's tail. And I think he was trying to send a Snapchat, but he had like didn't have any service and his phone was literally on 2%. So he just takes a normal video. He never ends up sending it because like his phone died or he didn't have service. So this video is on his phone. So in the background of this video, you can hear his mom, Maggie, yell, Bubba's got a bird in his mouth. So Bubba is the Murdaugh's English lab, a yellow English lab. So you hear Maggie yell, Bubba's got a bird in his mouth. And then you hear a man's voice and it's Alec's voice. And he goes, Bubba. So let me play the video.
So Alec didn't even know that this video existed.
Exactly.
Get back. Get back.
So cute.
Quit, Cash. Come. Quit. It's okay. Come here. It's not that bad. Come here, Cash. Shit. Come here. Post it. Cash.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
Bubba.
Hey, Bubba.
That's a guinea.
This is a chicken.
Come here, Bubba.
Come here, Cash.
Come here, Bubba.
Cash. Quit.
So you can hear him being like, come here, Bubba, come here, Bubba. Like
That's
it is his
100% his voice.
Yeah.
100%.
So
But I
Alec,
guess they could like go off and say, well, you don't know for sure that that's his voice. Is that what they had said?
no. So Alex says, yeah, I lied. Sorry. I lied. He was like, so he's like, okay, guys, listen, I have an opioid addiction. I take all these pills, even though it doesn't make sense because if I literally took these pills that I would overdose.
God.
And he's like, I get paranoid when I am high on pills, as one does, I guess. And he's like, I get paranoid around police. So I lied to them because I was paranoid. Once I found, like, I saw, or I don't know. He's like, I just said, but then people were like some people called into the news station, like Law and Crime news station, and they they blew the like interviewers away with this. They were like, how would he know to lie about his alibi that specific amount of time? If he never actually killed them, then why would he want to lie about not being there? You know what I mean? Like he never knew if he didn't know that they died when they died, then how did he know to make his alibi for that specific time?
That specific time. Okay. Yeah. And say that he was visiting his mom.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like, is that a coincidence? There's no such thing as a coincidence.
coincidence.
Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. There's no
guy.
such thing. Okay. So yeah, he gets on there. He's like, I lied. I don't trust law enforcement. Like I'm addicted to pills and I get paranoid. So I lied to the cops. So then
I'm surprised he said that and didn't try to just deny that, like, oh, maybe that was somebody else. Because technically you can't prove that it was his voice, even though it sounds like exactly like him. And it is him because he admitted it.
Yeah. But I think just like, I don't know. I think
he just got caught up in his lies.
Yeah. I mean, when you make a lie, you have to make more and more and more. And he is the perfect like definition of that you just had to keep going.
Get tangled in it.
So remember when I said that he went to his mom's house to visit his mom? That was his alibi. So he was like, oh, I visited my mom. She's dying of Alzheimer's. I visited her, blah, blah, blah. So he actually did visit her, but he only was there for like 15 to 20 minutes. So he shows up with a blue jacket, holding it kind of like this with two long objects in it, probably the guns that he used.
Oh, God.
Shows up to visit his mom. The housekeeper's like, hi, Alec. Like, it's 8:30 at night or 9 at night, like your mom's asleep. She even said, she's like, that's the weirdest time for him to come visit, like she's asleep, like why would you come visit her this late at night? So he comes in holding this blue raincoat with these two long objects in it, puts it down. He tells her not to worry about it. And he says, "Hey, if anyone asks, tell them that I was here for about 30 to 40 minutes." He tells her that. And she was like, he was actually there for 15 to 20 minutes, which is the
I refuse.
yeah. Like there's a lot of things he did where he like changing his shirt to get rid of the gun residue, hiding those two guns. So the two guns that were found, Paul was first shot with like a shotgun, and then the next shot, I think he thought that he killed Paul. Paul was in the feed room. So basically after he took that video of the dog, he walked into this little feed room to get him food, and apparently Alec walks in, shoots him in the chest, and Paul's facing him. So it's like he saw his dad do that. Like, what the fuck? And so then he walks out of the feed room, and then he's shot again from like an up angle, and that's what like takes off the back of his head. So they think that Paul or that Alec maybe bent down outside to pick up the other gun. This other gun is called like a 300 blackout gun. And both of these guns are missing. They owned a shotgun and they owned a 300 blackout. And those were the two guns that were used in the murders, and they have never been found. They confiscated all the other guns from the Murdaughs. Those are not found. And those are probably the ones that he brought to his mother's house. So he goes home, takes a shower, changes his shirt, gets rid of the gun residue, brings that rain jacket with the guns over his mom's house. So that rain jacket was still at his mom's house, and that rain jacket had gun residue on it.
So did the police just not have like a search warrant for the mom's house? Because they're probably there, right? The guns, like you said.
No, I'm pretty sure they searched, and they no one knows where the guns are.
Okay.
We have no idea. We don't know if like he has two brothers. Alec has two brothers. We don't know if they're involved, if they helped.
Probably.
So there was a video shortly after Paul and Maggie died. Some guy was taking a drone video of the property, random guy, because of the murders that had happened and all the stuff that happened. So he was like, I'm gonna take a drone video maybe for his YouTube channel. So in his drone video, you can see people taking guns out of the Moselle property and putting them into a truck. So it's like, it's so weird. I keep thinking, I'm like, other family members of Alex had to have known what happened and they helped cover it up. But then it's like, are they just believing that he didn't do it? Like, I'm just like, someone has to know if they're hiding things for
the
him.
sense is not sensing.
Like they have to know. It's like, if he's like, hey, can you hide these guns? Wouldn't they be like, why do you need me to hide these guns? Did you do this? Like, so yes. Yeah, so
I was just gonna say, like, Alec, for being a lawyer and working in the law firm for as long as he had, like, he just seems so stupid. It's like, don't you know how to defend yourself? Like, when people ask you, say I was here for 30 minutes. And like, so are you serious right now? Like,
I know. He did a lot of things, like changing his shirt and like going and actually visiting his mom so that the housekeeper saw him. He did a lot of those things. I think that he thought in his mind, this is the perfect alibi. I'm definitely going to get away with this. But then he did other stupid things, like, Paul like taking that video, and he had no idea. Even Paul taking the Snapchat from earlier in the day when he's wearing a different shirt. I don't even think Alex knew about that, just because of like a generational thing. Like Gen Zs and millennials are always taking videos, and boomers and Gen X are not. And so they like don't even realize when they're being recorded. So I think like him just being like stupid for being like a boomer and just being like, oh shit, he literally recorded me twice and I have no idea. They called Paul the little investigator. As shitty as Paul was, like he still lost his life, and I don't believe that he deserved that. And that he could have probably changed and learned lessons and not been the kind of person that he was, but his life was ended too short, and we'll never know if he who he could have been. But they called him the little detective because he would find pills of his dad's and like knew his dad had a pill problem. Now the amount of pills, we still think that Alec is definitely exaggerating. But yeah, so in the end, Paul was kind of like a little detective too, because this video really like solved the case. So this is the dog Bubba. So this is the housekeeper. Blanca is to the left, and she's crying because she's like, she keeps saying, she's like, this is such a nice family. Like, and she's probably scared for her life too. Like, doesn't want to say anything bad about them.
Oh, I was gonna say, did any of the dogs die? Like, do we know about that?
No, the dogs are fine. And so Bubba is now living with Blanca.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's just
Okay.
a sweet little like happy ending like that. And people are saying they're like Bubba kind of like cracked the case. Like if Bubba never showed up being a typical, and I have an
That's
English lab just like this,
true.
if he had never just been an English lab like he was and put a chicken in his mouth and then Alec would have never been like Bubba and yelled at him. So it's like this dog like saved the freaking day. Like,
Oh my God.
and the fact that Paul's phone was on 2%. And so I think by the time he died, his phone died because I didn't know if you know this. I now know
Mhm.
this. A lot of people didn't know this, but your phone even tracks all your steps, your GPS location. And when you lift it up, it tracks when your phone is trying to do a Face ID. And so
Oh, right.
Paul's phone, I don't know if it was tracked that it was moved because I think it died by then, but Maggie's phone after she died, her phone was picked up. It even said it was moved to vertical, then it was moved to horizontal. Like your phone tracks every bit that the phone is moving. And so the prosecution like brought that up and they were like, it seems like he killed them and then pulled their phone out to like see if like what text messages were on there, maybe
Right.
what like, and so he wasn't able to unlock Maggie's phone. And then Paul's phone was dead. So if the phone wasn't at 2% to like all of these things happening magically at the time that they did, he could have found that video. He could have deleted it. Like it
I'm
could have
surprised he
gone such
didn't
a different
take their,
way.
well, this guy doesn't sound very bright to begin with, but I'm surprised he didn't take their phones and hide them.
So he actually took Maggie's phone and drove down the road and threw it out the window. So Alec's brother ended up finding the phone days later because they used like Find My iPhone, and that was the other thing. They found the phone and then they unlocked it, and then it's like this is a police investigation. Like you can't touch these things. You find it and you
Right.
have to leave it. So, but yeah, he took her phone, and I think like Paul's was dead, so he probably thought, there's nothing I can do, and then took Maggie's and was driving, and then it even showed too that Alec and Maggie's phone was driving down the road together. So it was like you literally had her phone in your hand.
Oh
And
my
then he just like chucked
God.
it out the window.
This guy is
So
an idiot.
yeah.
Ugh.
So okay. So after 6 weeks, the verdict comes back and he is guilty. They put the handcuffs on him and he went like this with his hand. And it was just like, it was so weird. It's like he was just like, shit, like this is my life for the rest. Like he got convicted 2 life sentences, 2 counts of murder for his son and his wife. The jury only deliberated for 3 hours. It was super quick. I did not I was waiting for the next day to come for them to do it. Like I could not believe how quickly. So the majority of the jurors were convinced that he was lying. There was 2 people who weren't convinced. One of the ladies ended up talking about the case to other people,
Mhm.
and you're
Mhm.
not allowed to do that as a juror.
Right.
And so on the very last day before they deliberated, the judge was like, I heard you were talking about it. Like, I have to remove you. Like, I'm really sorry. I have to remove
Did
you.
they sequester them?
I don't think so. I feel like a lot of they don't do that anymore, which honestly, that is my worst fear. My worst fear is to be on a jury and have to be sequestered. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't use my phone. I can't watch YouTube. No. And
Yeah.
a true crime case, I'm gonna watch it. Like I feel like I'm gonna be like, look, I'm gonna break the rules. Like, so just don't even have me anyways, because I'm gonna look it up. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that lady who got removed, she was talking to other people about how he was innocent. So you think too, oh my God, if she was left on there, like it could have been a hung jury, because all you need is that
Right.
one person to not believe. And and a lot of people thought it was going to be a hung jury and he was going to be found not guilty because the prosecution's motive like wasn't super solid. But they said that it was that kennel video from Paul that really sold the deal, because it's like, you were there, dude. Like you were there, and
They just wasn't on Alec's side. Like it was just like every little tiny thing, like the video from Paul's phone, the gunshot that did not kill him. Like so many things are just like, no, fate is not on your side, buddy.
Yeah. And I mean, they even said that even if he was found innocent, that all of his financial crimes, the 99 of them, that the
Right.
same judge that was on the case for the murders is on the case for those too. So he's going to be back and forth and be like, hey buddy, what's up? but he would still spend, I think, the rest of his life in jail from all those financial crimes anyways. But wanted to bring up what the judge said. He was a Black judge, and I just thought it was amazing. I was just so happy that he was person of color to be able to look at Alec and the Murdaugh family and be like, you guys deserve this. You have been crooks. You have hurt people like me and in my community and everybody that's like not well off and super poor. Like, and he even said, he was like, Alec, you have prosecuted people. You have sentenced them to death for doing less than what you're accused of doing. And I think that the judge would have sentenced him to death if the prosecution, I didn't know this. The prosecution didn't want the death penalty. Like, I guess they have to put it in like, okay, are you seeking the death penalty or are you just seeking like life in prison? And so I guess whatever the prosecution puts forward, the judge has to stick with that, because I thought that the judge was going to give him the death penalty. I was like, oh my God, he's going to go ham and he deserves to do it too. But he didn't, but he said like, if I had it my way, I would, but he just sentenced him to life. So of course they're going to appeal the case and everything, but I think he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So now we have the Stephen Smith case figuring out that is now reopened. They're going to exhume his body. They're going to figure out what happened. Buster might be getting in trouble, or who knows, maybe it was Alec, maybe it was someone else in the family. And then Gloria Satterfield, they're going to do the same thing and really investigate. And if it was an accidental death, at least trying to get those boys money. I think they may have gotten their settlement. Because somebody had a picture of one of her sons took the stand and it said that he was a richer man than Alec. But yeah,
well, everybody's richer than Alec right now. So.
Yeah. So that is the end of that. The end of the story. Happy ending if we can at all. That justice, has been served. But it's like so many of these things could have been unavoidable. It's like if your life's falling apart and you've fucked up and stolen this money, like why aren't you just killing yourself? Like why are you taking the lives of other people? So
I still can't fully wrap my head around. I mean, nobody can. Only Alec knows why.
Yeah,
if he did kill Paul and Maggie.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul, maybe I can understand a little bit. I mean, all of it is bad, right? But with Paul, I've heard the saying, an eye for an eye. Okay, one person lost their child. I don't know, maybe Alec was like, you know what, Paul, you gotta go. You're too much of a menace. And, somebody lost their lives. You have to go, which is already thinly motive to begin with. But then Maggie, it's what did Maggie do?
Well, so with Maggie, he says, oh, we were in love. We had a great marriage, blah, blah, blah. But people had said that Maggie had told them that she was trying to get a divorce, that she had $57 in her bank account too. So that week, all of their credit cards weren't working. So I think everything was just crumbling down upon them. And she didn't even want to go to Moselle that night. He convinced her to go. And I think she talked to her sister and her sister was like, you should go. And Maggie was saying that she didn't want to go. So her sister regrets that to this day. And she being like, I was the one who convinced her to go. And Maggie even said, she's like, I don't know. Alec is acting kind of suspicious. Maggie was living in Adesto Beach, so she was living on the water at that time. She wasn't living in Moselle. And apparently she never liked Hampton County. She didn't like the area at all. She moved for him. They met in college, and
I wanted to know a little bit about how they met. Yeah, their marriage.
They met in college, and I think she, liked being married into a powerful family, and they kind of all just had their noses, turned up to everybody, but she didn't like Hampton County because it wasn't rich. No one, the courthouse is the nicest building there. It's across the street from this rundown tire store. It is really crazy. South Carolina is a very poor state and the education's really low. And driving through there, I was like, wow, this is poor. But I remember one time driving through, doing a shortcut through South Carolina, and I felt like I went back in time. It was just so incredibly poor.
Did the boys go to school in Hampton County?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they went to the public school and everything. Yeah. So but yeah, so she was a little suspicious and she may have wanted to divorce him, so he thought, might as well get rid of her too. Also, I should mention that Moselle, the property, and a lot of other properties were under her name. So if
Mm.
she dies, he gets a property. So if you think about Alec always thinking about himself, even over his sons and his wife and everyone else, he's always thinking about himself. So he's like, oh, if I go down for these financial things, like Maggie's going to take the house, she divorces me, she's going to take everything, and I need more money for who knows what, his pills or the drug ring. So it's like, if Maggie dies, then he gets to take over the properties
Yeah.
and he can use those for money. So
Why
think-
was it under her name? Like solely under her name?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So does she come from wealth too? Like her family?
I think so. She either comes from wealth or she doesn't, but I know her sister is pretty wealthy, and her sister and her husband are wealthier than them. And it was said that like always bothered Maggie. Like she
Wow.
liked
And
having
that's that
money.
the Murdaughs were really rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Multiple properties. Like I think that
Boats.
yeah, exactly. The Moselle property is like 1,700 acres, like huge. I mean, I would say like millionaires compared to the other people there. Yeah, so it's like all the evidence just adds up to him, sadly, even though it's, I mean, when he was on the stand, I didn't believe him, but I was just like, he does seem like he loves them, like he wouldn't hurt them, like he really plays the victim, like he was like almost convincing me a little bit, but it's like all of the evidence is there. If he didn't do it, who the hell else did? And where was he? If his phone put him right there when they got murdered, like what was he doing? Just like turned around and someone just swooped in and was like boom boom and then ran away. Like it's him.
Well, Buster was lucky, I guess, that he was not living there in the time when all of this was going down, because he might be dead too.
I know, but it said that, you know, Buster was kind of like the apple of his eye. Like he thought Buster was gonna take after him and be a lawyer, and like Paul was the one, he liked the outdoors, he was rambunctious, like he never wanted to become a lawyer. So it was kind of like Buster was like almost his favorite son anyways. And it's like,
And was it Buster Maggie's favorite too?
I think I've heard that as well, that I thought that, you know, Paul and Maggie might be closer, but I think her suffering from like postpartum depression and everything after having him, like they, you know, they may have been closer to Buster. And Buster wasn't the one getting in trouble all the time. Paul was like drinking underage and literally being abusive to his girlfriend and causing the death of somebody. So yeah, so Mallory's case as well. I'm not sure if it was ever closed to be reopened, but they have like, I think they're still doing like the wrongful death suit. And you know, definitely now that all this has come out and they aren't covered anymore by, you know, being in power. Alec's dad, who was the solicitor, ended up dying a couple days after Paul and Maggie died too. So it was like he was the one that everyone could go to get themselves out of trouble. And so he's gone. And so it's like Alec is that top person, and now Alec's in trouble. So now like lawyers are coming out and being like, okay, we're gonna like sue the hell out of them. We're definitely gonna get, you know, these victims what they deserve.
This family.
So yeah, super crazy. It's really complicated, and there's like, I even tried to listen to that podcast when it first came out, and I was like, I cannot keep up with any of this. So hopefully this podcast
Well,
helps.
Buster might be joining Alex soon, so we'll see.
Yeah,
He won't be alone.
I know. Go sitting there with Daddy-o.
I wonder if it's like you said, connected to Buster, or maybe it's the dad, or maybe Paul, or
The Stephen
whoever.
Smith case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could be so many things. They could have had a relationship and he was going to tell, and Buster was like, I gotta take care of this. The rumors are that it was Buster and this other male in the car with him that did it. That's what like multiple people have said that they've heard through the woodwork. Also Steven's phone they recovered his phone, but like they still haven't been able to unlock it, which is very weird because you would find so much evidence on there. Who was
like
he texting
even to
last?
this day?
I'm pretty sure like they can't.
That's
the
weird.
police might have it, and the problem is when the police take this evidence, if they're corrupt or there's other people in power like the Murdaughs, and they're going to be like, ooh, why don't you just like lose his phone, or let's erase it, or let's like, you know, try to tamper with stuff so that people won't get in trouble. But I don't think that can happen anymore though. So I think
I think they're under a magnifying glass now, and people are, you know, suspicious of the local law enforcement and how truly corrupt the whole thing has been. But it's like, I'm curious, it's like, how can it ever get fixed if it's like the Murdaughs, reach goes so far. How do you
because
fix
there's
that?
there's a lot of people that are still involved. Like Corey Fleming is Alex's old law firm partner. They met in college. They're like best friends, and he's the one that took the case for Gloria Satterfield and his sons. So it's like he looks like he's an outsider, like, oh, let me help you, but he's Alex's best friend, and so they're like conspiring together. So he got arrested, so he's getting in trouble. And then there's a bank called Palmetto State Bank. It's literally right behind the courthouse. Like, I turned the corner of the courthouse and I was like, oh my God, there's that bank. The head of that bank was close with Alec, and so they were the ones where like they would put the money in, and then Alec would move it to another location, and like, so they're involved too. So it's like there's still a lot of people who are going to go down with the financial crimes, at least.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, now that they're under, the whole county is under a magnifying glass, it's like, yeah, there's people that you got to answer for these crimes. So.
Cardi B says, you do the crime, you do the time.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
like is doing community service, and she's like, do the crime, do the time. And it's true. It never.
Wait, what did she do? Do you know?
I have no idea, but she's like doing community service, and she takes selfies and puts them on Twitter, and she's like, don't do the crime, girls.
I love her.
This you can see in this picture the police officer right next to him, like behind him. He was standing behind him during like the sentencing, and the whole time he was like shaking his head. He was like intently listening to the judge. He was like, yes. It's just so funny because it just shows like it's like everybody in that area knows all the bullshit that these people have done, and they're like so excited for them to actually finally get in trouble for it.
Yeah, like you said that the jury deliberated for like 3 hours, and it's like these people have created quite the reputation for themselves, the family. And it's like, it doesn't even matter if they're sequestered at this point. It's like, they're not strangers. Like, they know this family, they know their reputation. And it's like, they did that to themselves, really. But I remember watching, I didn't watch too much of the trial, or any actually, just during the sentencing, and I just remember the judge's speech was just like so badass. I was like, oh my God.
It was really, really good.
So
and
good.
The judge apparently had lost his own son like 5 months ago. So it just
he's feeling it.
But he said all the things that needed to be said to Alec, and that
it was
other
really
people
powerful.
needed to hear. So
all right.
To watch the video version of this podcast, search The Scandalicious Podcast on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Scandalicious Podcast.
If you have an episode suggestion, our email is in the show notes.
Thanks for listening.